Somebody's going to leave me for. I mean, Creasy's a good guy to leave me for.
We
so.
we want to talk to you about having an open podcast.
But like Laugh Track.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Danae Hughes.
I'm actually in the room with the peoples.
We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. And yes, we are all here.
We're in the same room.
Yes, we are in the same room.
We are in the same room. Now, I know we are so amazing with our audio that it always sounds like we're in the same room. You could never tell.
Except for that week I was in a cave. That was weird, right?
It was very strange.
I was in a deprivation chamber.
It may have actually been last week. Or no, last week was Creasy, right? It was a couple weeks ago. So, yes, but we are all in the same room, and this is exciting, and this is fun, and I'm glad to hang out with you guys and have a good time. But I'm excited because there's just a whole nother level when you can actually see somebody and, facial reactions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and we've done this before. I have not been in the same room with Danae before.
Ever.
So this is very interesting.
That's not
true.
That's
last night.
Danae has been avoiding you.
Yeah.
Is Jonathan in that room? I'm not going in.
I'm not going in there.
Was last night the first time you two actually were in the same room together?
Yeah, in person, yeah.
Yeah,
wow,
and
I didn't realize
immediately
that.
slid into the booth and gave him a hug.
Yeah,
and I realized that might have been really inappropriate.
We've known each other long enough, I think.
Yeah. We've been
I did
talking.
not realize that you guys had never met in person.
No, that's why during dinner I said it's really weird to see your mouth move.
Oh, okay. I just thought it was for other reasons. I didn't know. I just thought you were being rude.
Well,
Eyes are up here, Aaron.
I'm sorry. Why is your mouth moving? It's so weird.
Are you still talking?
Are you talking? So this is great. Jonathan was at Disney last week.
Yes, I was.
How did
Disney
they go?
Orlando. As always, it was a lot of fun. Disney sometimes doesn't necessarily feel like a vacation just because you're running around so much.
Yeah.
But this one felt more like one that it had in a while for some reason. I don't know what the circumstances were, but we just had a really good time. There were like no arguments, and we just had a blast. And my daughter's like the perfect age right now. I mean, she's 8 years old, so it's just
8's a great age.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like 4 or 5's a really good age too because of the whole like seeing the characters and stuff. But now she can ride everything, and it's just a more.
No, I've never had a child of the female persuasion, so I've only had boys. But I gotta say, like that 7 to 10 range, is so beautiful for doing family stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
and she's not scared of anything, so she'll ride. She rides more stuff than I do. Like there's things I won't ride. We just like.
What won't you ride?
Tower of Terror.
Really?
I don't like dropping.
It's so fun.
I don't like the drop. I actually, oddly enough, the weird story about that, rode that the day it opened. Have never ridden it since. It was 1994. So like I haven't even ridden it since they've done like multiple drops. And all that
it's
kind of
moving
stuff.
to Guardians now as opposed to Twilight Zone.
Disneyland's already done that.
Yeah.
Is Disney World doing? No.
I thought they were.
No, they're not. They're actually creating a new Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster.
Oh, okay.
So to the best of my knowledge, Tower of Terror is staying Tower of Terror.
It's gonna stay Twilight Zone.
Yeah. But you're right. At Disneyland, we went this summer. It's a Guardians of the Galaxy theme. Exact same ride, but...
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And you did Universal Horror Nights or whatever it is?
I did do Universal Horror Nights. I had never done that before. And I want to tell people, because some people were asking about the haunted houses. I am not a haunted house person. But this was awesome. Because this is Universal. So it's like, they've got a budget. And there's like...
They've got dollars.
There's serious production values going on in here. And you literally get immersed in these movies because they have 10 houses... I believe 6 were IPs. So they had like an Us house. There's an Us poster behind Aaron right now.
Wow.
What's IP?
Intellectual property.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So like based on other things. And then there were 4 that they just created on their own. Like they created their own stories behind it. But they had an Us one. And they like, you're walking through it. They're playing I've Got 5 on it the whole time.
Nice.
And that great score.
Scissors everywhere.
And you just walk around the edge and like, somebody's like just got scissors and is just
somebody's dropping
there.
a candied apple in the
sand.
There
you go. Yeah. And they literally like, if you've seen the movies, like they really go into detail. And it's just really cool. And then the originals, they kind of come up with their own things. Like there was this one that took place underneath a Roman Colosseum. I think it was called Nightingale Nightmare or something along those lines.
Okay.
And they even had like a lion in there. I mean, not a real one, but I mean,
I thought you meant a real one.
No. But they actually had like some interesting animatronics and stuff in there.
But I also thought earlier when you said you literally get immersed, I thought you were going to say you literally get murdered.
That's what I thought he was gonna say.
It really sounded like you were saying
Yeah.
murdered,
Yeah.
and I was like,
But,
whoa,
like,
dude, I
the
hope,
one-
did you all come back?
Stranger Things was a great example. They did seasons 2 and 3 this year because I guess they did season 1 last year. And I mean, like the actors, like they call them scarectors. They looked very similar to the cast of Stranger Things, and just everything they created. The what is it? The Upside Down.
Yeah.
Okay, all of a sudden that escaped me. They even had a gift shop close to it that they did in the format of the Upside Down. So like when you're walking through this gift shop, there's like mist in the air.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
And all this weird stuff. So yeah, they really go all out. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Danae is working with her brain to fight cat allergies for this episode.
Yeah, and I may actually need to have Kleenexes because
Yeah.
even though like my
Sneeze guard,
my
scarf.
my sneeze scarf will guard from me sneezing over you guys, I don't know that I want to wipe my nose on it. Yes, so I'm dealing with some allergies.
Smallergies?
But Aaron gave me my brain a pep talk before we got started.
It's true. I did.
So I haven't sneezed since the pep talk.
Can we shout out real quick though? Apple Podcasts. I talked to Danae about this morning.
Yeah.
Apple Podcasts tweeted out something. Was it what's your favorite podcast? What's your funniest?
Which
like
podcast makes you laugh out loud?
Oh, that's what
Yeah.
it was. And we had a few people, and there might have even been some I didn't see if they didn't tag me. But
we got tagged by quite a few people.
Yeah,
on that
there were
post.
quite a few people that mentioned BTS, and even one person said while they loved the Sincast, BTS is the one that makes them laugh. So.
now we will
Take
be
that,
rubbing that
A-team.
in their face tomorrow.
Oh no, we will be totally.
Jeremy loved it
subservient
though.
and-
Jeremy tweeted below that he was like, "Yes." So
No, we know
have
better. We'll
staff
rub it in their
meeting.
face right now
Yes,
while they're
right.
not here.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
And
That's
once
right.
they're
Yeah.
here, we'll bow.
Yeah, we'll flex right now.
that's right.
Chris might be on the other side of that door. We're not sure. But,
That's true. We should whisper.
But no, but just thank you though.
Yes.
I would not expect from Apple Podcasts. Somebody to get on there and say, "Oh yeah, BTS." So
Yeah.
you guys are awesome. We have people every week too that even tweet us out and say, "Hey, just reminder to listen to BTS this week." It's crazy.
I'm pretty sure we have the best fans ever.
No, I would
sure.
absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, it's so fun to see those things, to chat with you on Discord, to have all the the fun stuff.
I
So
don't know, man. Those murderinos, though, at My Favorite Murder might have something to say to us, and I don't want to piss them off. So
it's probably a good idea.
you're the best.
That's
We're second.
We'll take second.
We're better than Sincast. That's all I hear. That's all I care.
That's all you need
I'm
to know.
kidding.
That I just as long as at some point we get into a war with another fan base, like that's
No.
that's how that's how you grow the passion of your fans.
even-
You have a battle.
But I don't know if they know how much they're helping though. When they do stuff like
Yeah.
that, and when they
Yeah.
write reviews, and all of that helps so much. I'm not suggesting you write a bad review, but the weird thing about Apple's algorithm, even if you write any review, actually helps you.
Yeah,
Which is weird.
yeah, because it's about activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten several bad reviews all about me. So
Yeah.
I'm working
yeah.
on it, guys.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
speaking of
Working on
which,
it.
last week you guys did an awesome job. Creasy is amazing, and from what I could tell, I might now be the fourth favorite host.
Jonathan.
So, and after I say that, there's going to be people saying, well, what about Chris and Barrett? Okay, so I'm the. So kids out there, just keep the dreams alive. You one day too can be the fourth favorite host of
the
a
podcast
podcast
of
of a 3-person podcast.
That's not true.
No, Creasy's awesome. Though. He's one of the coolest dudes alive.
Yeah, I'm glad you like the
so-
show. It was really interesting to get that behind the scenes stuff, and I felt like it was one of we go behind the scenes. Obviously, we're going to start the show any second now and actually start doing
This is part of
our
people
weekly
love
behind
it.
the
This
scenes.
part of the show.
But that was a really, really strong look at it. And we actually had quite a bit of comments happening in our Discord forum that was like, hey, thank you so much. I've been really curious about specifically the editing process, because a lot of the people who are the super fans who join us in the forums or the chat groups or whatever, they're really interested in film or editing or movie reviews or just getting kind of into that world. And so a behind the scenes look at how that works is helpful and exciting for a lot of reasons.
By the way, one of my favorite moments ever on the podcast might have happened in that episode. I do not remember what you guys were talking about, but it was fairly not like serious, but you guys were talking about, like, I guess smart people liking us because of all the Big Bang Theory stuff.
Yeah.
And then and then Danae's like, and somebody just said I like penis in Discord.
Yes. And that literally happened. That was not a joke.
That is the gamut.
We currently sit at 32 reviews on iTunes, almost all of them 5 stars to 4 stars.
Well, if we get to 100,
let's have a giveaway.
Danae will call you or something. I don't know. I'm kidding.
You know what?
I'm kidding. I'm not going to volunteer.
I would actually do that.
Call every single person who's left a review?
Nope. I would call the 100th.
Call the 100th or a drawing between the 100th.
The drawing between the 100th, I would call and chat. I've actually wanted to do that already. Just be like, hey, how's it going today?
And then
I will do your laundry for a week.
So we'll do that drawing, and the person will be like, actually, could Jonathan call me instead?
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
So can Creasy call me?
That's right.
Is Barrett available to talk
How
with
about the
B-Team
cat?
Fans?
You guys ready to get into it?
Yes.
All right, let's start with the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week. There are indeed 6 of them. We will progress through TV Sins, Music Video Sins, and CinemaSins channels. We'll kick it off with TV Sins. The Good Place was the first video for last week.
Yep.
This was a Hughes Watkins script, so the other 2 peeps in the room collaborated on this.
Which is kind of odd because it's one of your favorite shows.
Is absolutely one of my favorite shows.
So I guess that's just the way the schedule worked. But
yeah, and then it kind of happens that way sometimes. But
I don't think that's true.
What?
I think you purposefully put me on the script because you've been asking me to watch this show for so long.
We both fell in love with this show.
We did.
Yeah, which was really interesting because we were going back and forth as we were doing the script and we were talking about it. I've watched a few episodes since.
My plan has been revealed, has been laid bare by Danae's astonishing intellect.
Because it's 30 minutes. It's like 10 episodes a season or something. So it's like and they're doing they're on the final season, which is why we did this.
And it's so brilliant. Danae, I think you're all the way caught up, other than maybe not watching the last episode this season.
It's going to be a minute before I get there, but
I literally did the script and then binged everything that was out there.
It's that good.
Yeah, it really is that good. It's a fun show. I love Kristen Bell.
I love Ted Danson.
Genuinely,
too.
Ted Danson is so exciting.
Kristen Bell and Ted Danson might be now 2 of my all-time favorite TV people, and they've done so many shows. I mean, that helps.
There's a moment in the pilot. Which, by the way, we did the first and second episode because of a mix-up, like a confusion, because when you get the DVD, we work off of Blu-rays, and so when we got that, the first episode had 1 and 2 as like a
because
starter.
They aired together,
Because they aired together, but it wasn't super clear, so I sent the first 2, not realizing it. And then everybody else had to follow suit after that.
But that's what Aaron had too.
Sorry about that.
And then the editor's copy, though, somehow did not have it that way. Even though, so it's like how many?
And this happens.
How
sometimes.
many Blu-rays are out there of this?
Yeah,
it's
happened a couple times.
So when we release this one, it says that we did 2 of them, which we don't usually do, but that's why.
But a lot of people thought we did 2 because we couldn't come up with enough sins.
Oh, really?
There were some comments about that, like, oh, I guess you had to do 2 episodes, which is funny because most of the sins are from the first episode.
Yeah,
so,
there's barely any from that second episode.
We would have actually been okay.
Yeah,
just on the first one.
Well, now you know why we did it that way.
I indeed do love this show. I think it's one of the greatest new shows we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
It's so fun to watch.
It's very unique.
It's so smart. And I want to talk about that just a little bit because it is one of the hardest shows to sin the pilot for. Because so many things that are quote unquote sins are
actually
explained.
Part of it. Yes.
Yeah, they're explained later and very purposeful.
So I'm glad you were there at least to shadow it because you said something and added a couple things that helped us.
I wanted to make
get
sure
there.
very early on in the script I winked that we knew that. Like winked at, hey, wouldn't it be amazing if there was actually a show?
And I knew the season finale twist. I'd had that. I mean, nobody purposely spoiled it for me. I might have even accidentally seen the last few minutes of that episode or something when it aired. But that's what everybody says. It's one of the best twists ever.
Well, and you just don't expect it from a sitcom like that.
But hold on, I actually wrote a sin.
Yes.
That totally predicted it, and then we had to cut it because it was like, oh, that's a reveal.
Okay.
But what was so frustrating about that sin cut is that it would work if he was a good guy. Like, it's Ted at the very beginning. He says something like, you're going to be happy here, or you're in the good place, or he's telling her that. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what an evil overlord would say.
Yeah.
And that's the sin.
Yeah.
If he was a good guy.
Right.
But he's actually not. Spoiler. Spoiler after I spoiled it. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
So,
I already knew it.
That's just like... So then I had to cut it, and I was so proud of that one.
It's a great catch, but at the same time, the comments would be, as they already are, by the way.
Yeah.
The comments are already with some of our sins going, that's explained later. Like, we know.
But also, and I mean, we've said this before, but I mean, the way Aaron and I decided to go about it from the get-go was that the narrator has not watched past this episode.
Right.
Yep.
So that's why we'll throw stuff in sometimes, like, or so I saw on YouTube.
Yeah,
we'll
wink.
Like
we'll
that.
wink at it.
Or,
but...
I accidentally fast-forwarded and saw this. Or I saw a reveal on Twitter and this.
Or surely that will never happen.
Right,
As our,
yeah.
as our
We'll
main
do a
one.
little wink, but...
There was also a part, go back to Ted, when later on in the season...
Friend of the show, Ted.
Yeah, our friend Ted. It's when Kristen's character stands up and says she's what's wrong with The Good Place in that first season. I think it might even be towards the end of the first season.
Yeah.
And he looks at her, and he looks so wicked. Like he's a good guy, and he has that good facade, but something about the way he emotes in his eyes.
Yeah.
And I got chills while I was watching it, and it still hadn't been revealed that he actually is a bad guy. And so I'm still kind of on the fence going, what is this going to, what is the reveal? Like, what's the twist? Because I know everybody was talking about it. I've gone back to that moment so many times thinking about Ted playing that role. And of course, his character develops as the show progresses and everything. But that one moment, I was really impressed with his acting, and I haven't watched him a lot. So between him and Kristen, I'm like, this is so much fun.
He's a really good actor. Yeah, I mean, Cheers is one of the probably the greatest sitcoms of all time. Becker's a lot better than you would think. I mean, mainly because of him. He was on CSI for 3 or 4 years, and he was really good on that. I mean, he's done various roles. He's in 3 Men and a Baby. I mean, he's done movies too.
Oh my God, I loved that movie when I was little. My mom and dad would like watch oldies. I so want to go back and watch that.
It's super problematic these days,
but
that's okay.
What is it?
It was made before the year 2000.
Oh man.
No, but no, he's great. There's just something about him. Like I wouldn't like when we're talking about our favorite actors. I don't know that he would ever pop in my head.
Right.
But then when I watch him, I'm like, I love Ted Danson.
Yeah, I was really impressed with him.
More Ted Danson, please.
I wanted to, I mean, like, Aaron, if you've got something specific, but there was a couple of sins I really had a fun time with.
Well, I was just also going to mention the fact that as great as Kristen and Ted are, Jamil, D'Arcy Carden, William Jackson Harper as Chidi is phenomenal.
They're so good.
Manny Jacinto as the Jason character that's, a monk at the beginning.
He's my least favorite.
Is this one of Jamil? Is this like one of her first things?
I think so. I think the rest of this cast it's pretty much how they rose to prominence.
She has which we in the Friends when we're going to talk about the previously on actually reference this, but she has very much a Rose Byrne quality to her, especially from that movie Spy, but that I just couldn't get away from. Yeah, she's hilarious.
Yeah, so this whole cast is great, and Chidi, William Jackson Harper, is like a stud. Like it's so funny to see him in real life. And the show actually plays with it later on. Like he takes off his shirt at one point. And it's like, oh my goodness, Chidi is jacked.
No wonder Kristen loves
But when
you.
when she goes back thinking about like the good things, when he asks like, have you done anything good? And she walks up and the guy's like, would you like to hear about whatever? And then she throws the cup and says, eat my farts. I had to stop because I was crying. It was just something about the way she delivered that line, even though it's so stupid. I mean, who says eat my farts? And I know we made a sin about, it should have been a curse word, which was awesome. But,
it should have been.
But I love that but that made it funnier for some reason to me.
It reminded me of...
could you eat my farts?
Last Man on Earth. Did you ever watch Last Man on Earth?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a fun show.
He always said farts.
Yeah. He did.
That was always his thing.
Farts.
Yeah. Anyways. Let's talk about the video itself. Danae, what were you going to say about some of the sins that you really liked?
I really loved, and I wrote a sin about it and had all the arrows kind of pointing to when they're doing like the sin counter.
That is the main one I wanted to mention too.
And it's so fun, but you have to to see it, you have to pause it and
Yeah.
then, like, actually read them. But reading them on the screen was absolutely hilarious to me. And it is a nod that it's all just ridiculousness. You know,
Yeah.
the whole weight system is ridiculous. And they give credit and, like, you know, actual background story to that later on. So when you're watching the pilot, you're thinking, okay, this is just goofiness.
Right.
But it actually turns into something that has, you know, like a real, like there's purposeful weighing all these different things. But some of them that I really loved was Smile, Sweetheart. If you say Smile, Sweetheart, it's like really bad. And I'm like, yeah, it is. People calling, you guys don't have to probably deal with this, but for me, I am like short in stature and people think I'm 12 sometimes still. And I'm like, no, guys, I'm a full adult woman.
I don't think it matters for the guys that are saying this to you.
And if you're having like a rough day, it's crazy. And I never really thought about how weird it is until the last like 5 years.
The guys will tell you to smile.
Some guy will always say, "Oh, honey, you're too pretty to frown. You should smile, sweetheart."
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's awful.
get out of my face.
Well, and we don't get that specifically, but like just anything, like, because you do not know what another person's day is like that you're passing randomly.
It's just weird to tell someone to like. Anyways,
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
love
I've
that
never
it was
understood that.
represented as a negative.
Yeah.
Other negatives were blow your nose by pressing down on one nostril. And blowing out of the other nostril.
Yeah.
Using Facebook as a verb was on there.
Or just using Facebook.
Be a commissioner of professional football league, which I thought was hilarious because my husband's super into that stuff. And began to compose a social media post about David Bowie dying, and then thought the world doesn't need to hear my thoughts on David Bowie. That was a positive
And
one.
you got a positive points for that. Yes. No, that kind of stuff is great.
But the genocide versus ending slavery, I wrote that down. That was my favorite sin. And I actually tried to write a couple of sins around this area, and I just can never get anything to come out. And I was like, surely Danae is going to nail this, so I'm just going to let it go.
Yeah, I imagine the person
It's nice
who's
when
like,
you have a second writer.
Yeah.
I just imagine the person who like looks at this and goes, okay, I really want to do some genocide. How do I still end up in the positive? I guess I ain't in slavery. Bye, everybody.
Did you have any other fun ones that stood out to you, or anything else from the actual video itself?
I loved it. I thought it was a ton of fun. So.
Super big recommend for me to watch that one.
The I would want to mention yet another example of one where I wrote something about Star Trek and Universal Communicators. I do not remember which one of you it was. Maybe it was both of you, but you guys morphed it into something that was hilarious. So I just love when that happens.
That is fun.
I don't mind
combines.
I like when people make my stuff better because I need it.
We all do. We all need it.
We actually talked about that on the drive to Nashville.
All right, let's move on to Friends, the one with Ross's wedding. This was a Dicer Watkins joint. Jonathan and I wrote on this one. This is also a two-parter. We did two-parters in the same week.
This was on purpose.
Yeah, this one we did on purpose.
Because we didn't know how to split it up because it kind of has to go together.
Yeah, it does feel like it needs to go together.
I always hated the Emily storyline on Friends. I just want to throw that out there. Nothing against the actress.
Yeah.
It felt like a rehash of the Julie thing from season 2, which also wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And I just don't like when your favorite TV show characters go on vacation. I have never liked that.
Because it changes the entire dynamic.
Yeah.
You can't shoot that on location in London and it feel the same way.
Yeah.
We made a reference to the fact that the laugh track is weirder
Yeah.
when it's outdoors.
Yeah, because there's not a studio audience.
No.
So why would there be people laughing?
The fact that they're just not used to shooting on location.
Yeah.
So, cameras are showing in reflections and
The
there's
track.
the dolly track in the background, all
The
that
cameos, which the cameos are fun. I mean, I like Jennifer Saunders is great.
Yeah, but they're completely pointless.
Yeah.
I mean, well, the Jennifer Saunders one is actually a character, but I just mean like the Richard Branson one, just out of nowhere.
And even like, I mean, I guess Hugh Laurie would fall under the Jennifer Saunders thing, but and he wasn't, House wasn't there yet,
right.
But still, I mean, we'll even make I think that Sin stayed in, right, about this has a bunch of people that if you were watching BBC at the time, or PBS, you would know who they were.
Yes. Yeah, the cast of Are You Being Served was going to end up being the wedding band. Yeah, that was a good one. So yeah, going on location is just, I don't know. I didn't like it. And I agree with you. I mean, how many times do we need to see Ross with somebody else just so they can,
And I'm with Danae on Rachel in this episode for sure.
Yeah.
100%. But I mean, that's the writers. That's the writers not staying consistent with these characters. But like, I mean, I mean, how do you come out of this liking Rachel?
I mean, you're supposed to feel like, oh, she went there to destroy the wedding, but she didn't do it. And you're supposed to give her credit. And it's like...
But
you still kind of did.
And Emily's not a villain. Like, it's not like Emily wasn't like a bad person at all. She was super sweet, you know?
Yeah.
So they could have done it a different way. Like, I just thought the way they did it seemed really harsh.
Did you guys know that the original intent was for the Emily Ross thing to work out?
No.
Like, they were supposed to stay married through the rest of the show.
Oh.
And
I would have been... I mean, that might have been okay, because then at least we would have gotten to know her.
Yeah, but she... I think there was some scheduling conflict with her, and she didn't want to be on the show anymore, and...
So this was kind of a last second. This could have been like a last second shuffling. They're like, "What are we going to do? Oh, let's have Rachel screw things up."
Yeah.
Or I guess Ross screws it up. But
yeah, no, I think that was always planned to add that tension to it.
Then they would
stay together and work it out and try to figure it out.
Because I'm trying to remember if she's even on the. I mean, I think she does pop back up in an episode or two, like while they're trying to work it out.
Yeah.
But it's been a minute since I've seen those episodes. But
their relationship is just the Ross-Rachel relationship for me is just so back and forth and so tumultuous. And so, like in real life, I can't imagine there being a moment where you would choose to stay. But then I run from responsibility and commitment. So maybe I just don't relate. You know,
you rarely hear about relationships though like that working out. In the end.
Unless that's a really positive one, but in this case you've got Ross who just is trying to continue to move on, and then like he's also awkwardly pursuing Rachel all the time too, and so but it's a show, and I really keep going back to my revelation that back in the day there was all this time in between each episode, and I think people kind of created this version of the story in their mind, and when you're watching these shows either back to back or what we're doing right now with TV Sins, doing a run on Friends, it's like, man, this is just, it's hard to imagine that they have substance. At least what we're seeing, it doesn't feel like substance. So you kind of have to imagine that in the week in between when they're recording, that substance is somehow happening between them.
And you start the Monica Chandler relationship, which is really interesting, but then you immediately take focus away from it.
Yeah.
And they did this twice, by the way. There's it might even be the next season finale. They go to Vegas, and Monica and Chandler decide they're going to get married at the last second. And when they go to the church in Vegas, a drunk Ross and Rachel come out of the church because they just got married.
Right. Yeah.
So they've done this twice. Like they do at least twice in the series where they take focus away from a much more interesting relationship.
Yeah.
Because they're great together. Matthew Perry and they've been great together the whole series.
Yeah.
Just playing off each other. Courtney Cox. And so that's a great moment in this show, in this episode. But then it just gets completely washed under the table.
One of my favorite sins was the show gave us an incessant number of establishing shots of Big Ben, but can't afford to bring over Little Ben. And that one took me a second. Yeah. And then I realized that they never have the son.
Yeah, Ross's
Ben,
kid isn't there.
Ever.
And we went back and forth a little bit on that. Because I think Barrett worked with this on this with us, so we talked about it a little bit because it was kind of like, well, I mean, there might be very good reasons he's not there, but then in the grand scheme of things, like, no, why wouldn't he be there
at all?
Yeah.
They wouldn't even bring in a kid actor to grow up or anything. You know? But I don't know.
Again, it for me, the reason the sin works is because it's another example of how the show does not care about their actual lives. Like it is just about the six of them and how they relate to each other.
Right.
Which, okay, fine, I get it. Yeah. But at some point, that's not realistic. That's not authentic.
No, it is about their friendship and not about their lives outside of the friendship.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, because you get Judy and I can't remember Ray Gould's character's name. But you get Ross and Monica's parents. That's about it. Those are the only really consistent ones. They do bring Ben back eventually because the kid from that terrible Adam Sandler movie.
I don't remember.
Big Daddy, I believe is called. Yeah. It's like the kid he has to raise in that movie.
Oh, okay.
He ends up playing Ben later. But yeah, that's weird that he wouldn't be there. at all. And it's a good play on words, so it kind of works. It works.
That was
both
and that was the
ways.
other thing. I didn't want to lose the joke.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good joke.
No, exactly.
I didn't want it to go away.
Absolutely. No,
So,
I thought it was great.
It worked enough. I'm glad Judy the Kids is catching on.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
In the comments, there's a lot of Judy the Kids, which I love.
I was glad I got to keep the absolutely fabulous set, which Jeremy did perfect.
Yeah.
That was a sin for my wife because that's one of her all-time favorite
She's an Ab
shows.
Fab fan.
Yeah, and she loves Jennifer Saunders, and that's not a show I ever really could get into, but I've seen every episode because she loves it.
Yeah.
And she's actually really funny in this episode. I didn't remember her being in it, so that was kind of a nice surprise because I didn't know who she was.
Yeah.
When I saw this, just like I didn't know who Hugh Laurie was.
Yeah.
So, and Hugh Laurie does have that one good moment. I was glad we took the sin off because I was like, okay, that was one spot where I could see the laugh track.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. In fairness, it does seem like you were on a break.
But yeah. Oh, and then I also selfies. We had the selfies sin right at the end of the first episode, and then the start of the second episode, we do the landlines. I really enjoyed having the two like one-liners back to back, especially because it was right at that break.
I had to do the selfies thing because it was pre cell phones.
Yeah.
But they were using the camcorder like they were taking a selfie.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we did do selfies before
Oh
cell
yeah.
phones.
Well, the first cameras,
yeah.
they would do selfies.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I mean, people have been trying to take photos of themselves somehow since the photography started.
You used to have to set up that timer and then run really
Yeah,
quickly, you know?
for real. Yeah.
If you look at Norman Rockwell's famous Thanksgiving painting, it looks like the guy at the end of the table is taking a selfie of the table.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to check that out again.
The first selfie was taken in 1839.
Wow.
Just so you know.
Nice. Anything else about Friends, the one with Ross's wedding?
You were talking about how weird the audience laughter was, or the laugh track. That clap, which we send the hell out of this, that clap that Matthew Perry gets, I still will never understand that. Like, it's not even like a good moment. He just
audience was pumped up, man.
He gave like a bad toast, and then he was like, fine, Ross and Rachel, or I mean not Ross and Rachel, you know what I meant, Ross and Emily, and then it's just you hear this like huge like clap, like you would have thought like the Monica Chandler in the bed thing would have made sense.
Yeah.
But like that was where you have the clap, which is why I wrote that in there. Like this is where you clap.
Yeah,
it's a really popular episode for some reason, but it's definitely
it's the
one
Rachel
I don't
moment.
get.
It's the Rachel. It's saying the wrong name moment. That's clever writing. That really is.
And how
great
awful
writing.
is that? And how has it ever happened in real life? Probably. And is it the worst thing ever? Yeah, that's bad. That's bad.
Yeah, it is, and I mean, and they don't.
I don't know. I have sympathy. I mean, as much as I call my kids the wrong names, or
that's different.
Like I've called my wife Danae. I've called Danae Jen. Like,
oh my gosh, I call Justin Aaron all the time.
Yeah,
and vice versa.
And it's worse if you. I have an ex-wife, and I've accidentally called my wife that name a couple of times.
It happens, right? Like there's a brain connection.
There's nothing there.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. It's just that your
but
brain
at
does.
the wedding is
No.
Right.
I did not do it at the wedding. This was like early on in our relationship where I just gotten divorced.
All right, fair point, Danae. Fair point.
But it does happen. But yeah, no, that is a well written moment.
Yeah.
But it's still at the same time, you're just like, why does this?
Why
do you have to make Rachel out to be such an awful person in this, and Ross too, for that matter? I mean, I guess that's really Ross, not Rachel, but her intent was to break it up. So
the way they forced Phoebe being able to hear the wedding with the call to
that was
Joey,
a great moment,
Joey or whatever.
I liked you barely even see Ross's face, but I love that shot where he goes and puts the phone up to Ross's face.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, it's Phoebe. It's like he's mad.
So yeah. Anyway, we have even more Ross relationships to cover in this series of
we're not
Sins.
we
aren't
quite
done yet.
So. He has so many interesting relationships.
So many Ross and his relationships. Was that the name of the show?
Rosslation.
Relationships.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Let's move on to music video sins. Chicken noodle soup.
Noodle soup. Noodle soup.
I think it's I don't even have the artists here, but
it's J-Hope from the
BTS,
and then Becky G.
I didn't even know he was on this podcast.
and then Becky G is on this song with him, and she's a fairly popular singer songwriter.
I don't have a ton to say other than it's a fun little pop song.
It's
I mean,
okay.
it's definitely pop music.
If you have a kid my age, though, that just discovered it, I'm unfortunately going to have to hear it.
Well, and that is literally what I have written down. Fun pop song for sure, but I bet it gets old fast, and you may be experiencing that.
Well, it's fun because they have a fun dance that in the TikTok realm, there's always these dances to learn. It's, dancing is just kind of part of pop culture anyway, but then with video and just being able to like consume and just watch a video, a lot of people love learning those dance moves. And so this one introduces some fun ones that are wacky and interesting, and everyone knows how to say chicken noodle soup.
Isn't it kind of? But isn't it just kind of a variation on the chicken dance? Isn't that all it is?
That was the best outtake. That was when they played the chicken dance while they were. I was just like, that is so perfect.
Yeah, no, but that's okay, right? Just sort of like add a new flair to it, and also there's a lot more hair tossing in this one than there is.
That is true.
Usually, if you're going to do the chicken dance, your 80-year-old grandmother can do the chicken dance. This one requires you to have like some stability in your core and also the ability to flip your hair without throwing your neck out.
Well, Becky G's got a lot of hair, so she's got to throw it somewhere.
You need a distinct lack of osteoporosis.
There you go. That's
I also like the I guess I don't know how you say it, the combination though of you've got J-Hope with his K-pop influence coming in, and then you've got Becky G, which she's more straight pop, but I definitely feel like she brings a lot of her like Hispanic nature into
there's kind of a Latinx hip hop kind of vibe.
It's like a Latin K-pop mix, which is
it's a jambalaya.
It's not what I would like to come from that.
It's a gumbo,
but it's still interesting.
It's a goulash.
You went very Creole, and I don't know there's any Creole in here at all.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a melting pot of pop. It's a pot.
A melting pop.
It's a melting pop. Okay. I really like the sin that's like cool. So there's also one from Becky, right? About the blimp.
Yeah.
I loved that so much. Just the way that Jeremy like cool. Yeah. You got a blimp. Cool. Where's Becky's?
Yeah, that's good stuff.
That made me really, really happy. I actually really liked the video.
Yeah.
I had a good time. I was smiling.
The actual music video or the Sins video?
Both,
yeah.
But I watched the music video, and
it's fun, right? Like it's just
what is up with the monster trucks though?
Well, they're into car culture. This is a car culture. I mean, they've got the cars spinning. They've got cars popping in the back. Lowriders or whatever with the hydraulics that are kind of doing their thing.
Like this song is not going to pop up in a Fast and Furious movie though. Like that's what I don't get. I guess it's just
maybe the remix.
The music
did they do a
mix.
Fast and Furious pun in this?
I think so.
Okay. All right.
I don't remember.
There is a Fast and Furious. It was a Fast and Epicurious.
That's right.
And I loved that joke.
Yeah.
Because I was like, Epicurious? I remember that. And then I went and looked it up. And that was brilliant.
I always love, one of my favorite things writing for MVS is whenever we get to do a reboot scene, because there's so many times in songs where somebody just repeats that over and over the same line. And I think Barrett started this, but that's always a fun like kind of running gag for those.
I really enjoyed the sin off in this one where they mentioned the dancing, and then also we make fun of ourselves for being old. We call ourselves an old.
Lit.
Yeah, though that was great, and the way Jeremy read that too, like
before I start using words like turnt.
Lit. I think it was lit.
Well, he said lit, and then he's like, before I start using words like turnt, and there was another one.
When the narrator gets frustrated that now he's got to be trilingual.
Yes.
That was...
there's good stuff in here.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And going to the outtakes, I thought the Make It Rain outtake was my favorite because it lined up so well with him dancing and singing. So
yeah, no, that was
and
good
anytime
too.
you can make fun of Make It Rain, I'm down.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Can we move on to music from behind? Taylor
sure.
Swift. I loved this story so much. The meth dealer's daughter slayed me. Every cut to that little girl, like
on her iPad, frustrated on the couch,
frustrated that Taylor Swift was being famous. I don't know, man. It tickled me. It just tickled me.
I wonder, because these videos are so wackadoo, I wonder if there's plans to do like a Kill Bill type thing where the little girl grows up for revenge. Just like there's a big question about, like in Kill Bill, if the little girl that was there for her mom's murder, now that she's actually old enough to make a movie, there's curiosity if she's actually going to be like in a revenge film.
That was Vivica Fox's daughter? Is that what she's talking about? I feel like there was,
yes.
and then Uma Thurman talks to her, right? Like says something
and
like,
says you can come find me whenever you're older. So like
that's such a cool scene.
The curiosity. I mean, it is cool if you are okay with a child watching her.
No, I'm not. But I'm saying, but as far as like,
it's so cool, man.
It's a very like I'm looking at it like it's a very well done dramatic moment. Like it's just one of those. It's just a very well scripted moment.
Yeah.
Not looking at like the traumas.
Right, I know. I was teasing.
No,
you.
I know.
But it reminded me of that, like, because it kind of, they sometimes will, these music from behind videos will do like a little setup for, we'll find out next time because we're going to come back and talk about this. So there's sort of this little teaser element to it, and I wonder if they really are going to come back and. I mean,
I would think eventually he might bring people back for certain. But I haven't asked him about it, so I don't know for a fact. I have nothing to do with this other than I'm part of the review process.
Right.
But which I mean, this is the easiest thing to review too because
it's we do it every week. It's you just go along and go, great joke.
But be a part of the review process because there's no
fact checking.
There's no subtitles. There's no fact checking. There's no subtitles on the screen, so I don't have to worry about like somebody didn't say the or whatever.
Right? Yeah.
And so you could just kind of watch it and enjoy it, and then. There might be like with a clip, like the way it cuts or something.
Yeah, maybe there's a fragment of video or something somewhere.
But that's even rare. And
it could be purposeful. You never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
And they're just funny. So I enjoy watching them multiple times. Yeah, I have really nothing to say about this. 83 top 10 hits from her first 4 solo albums was just funny.
Yeah.
For some reason, that was just a real quick throwaway line.
And the one that was Katy Perry's song instead, which happened. Wasn't that one of the things that happened real publicly? Somebody in an interview asked either Taylor or
about the other one's song.
I don't know.
I'm sure that's happened.
And it was like this little. I can't remember. I should have looked it up.
As sure as I am that husbands, call wives by the wrong name at their wedding.
Yes.
I'm sure that's happened.
Yeah, that was really good stuff too.
Yeah. So as usual, MFB really
nice.
funny.
Yes, applause. We should just say and for MFB this week and just play applause.
Yeah.
We'll get that. We'll chime in that Matthew Perry applause that he got. We'll just put that in the as an outtake.
All right, let's move on to CinemaSins, the Addams Family, the 1991 version. This was an Atkinson Hughes joint. Chris and Danae rocking this one. So Danae, I guess we'll go to you. What did you think about this movie since you just watched it again?
It was great. Am I a good interviewer?
Yes.
Do you really like this movie though? That is actually, I'm curious.
I remember watching this movie for the first time when I was I don't even remember how old I was when I watched it, but it was kind of when movies were just fantastical, and this was such a different type of movie. My parents raised me on Disney. So this is probably one of the first movies that had that darker element to it, the wackiness, the I'm going to say gore factor, and it's not at all.
No. I know what you're saying.
But like the insinuation that they're going to be electrocuting each other and chopping.
There's a darkness.
There's a definite darkness to this.
And that's the first time that it was done in like a fun, wacky way. Yeah. And I was fascinated by it, and I had a really good time watching it. So I actually enjoyed it when I was younger.
I did too. I saw this in the theater. I was 14 or 15. I don't know when in 91.
I think mine was like VHS at home. So
I don't know when it came out that year, but I was like 14 or 15, and I guess it was probably fall, so I was probably 15. But I liked it a lot then. I do not think this movie has aged well. I think this movie is super lazy.
I disagree.
And that's cool. But my
Let's
one
fight.
I think this movie's lazy.
Wait.
And I think also this movie doesn't know what it wants to be. And I think a lot of that has to do with Barry Sonnenfeld. Barry Sonnenfeld directed this, right? I think a lot of it has to do with him. I just do not think he was the right director for this.
Well, but there's a different. So as I'm watching more and more movies, because I have to now. I feel like there's just a different era of storytelling, and this is in a different era of storytelling. I feel like if it was to be done now, the audience would probably be really interested in seeing them out in the real world.
You mean like there's a current Addams Family movie out now? Because that's why we did this.
Oh, guys,
it's animated though, right?
It's animated.
You
it's
have
animated.
a plan? That's so weird. I should probably start paying attention to that part of this job at some point.
But
in time.
it's a straight up kids movie though.
Yeah, I did see that. When we went to the theater last night, there was a poster, and I went, oh.
Made a lot of money this weekend.
But I think I can kind of go back to that place, and maybe it is because I have a nostalgia experience with this movie where I can kind of forgive it for the things, the stuff that stood out to me. First of all, it's interesting to write on this one and be just two people on a script now because just so you guys know, when I first started writing with CinemaSins, it was me along with two other writers. Yeah. So like me getting used to writing sins, it didn't like the buffer of how many sins I'm writing or the quality didn't matter as much because the team was doing the bulk of the writing
and you still
mine
have
were
a
kind of
shadow.
bonuses. Yeah.
You still got a little bit of a governor, a little babysitter.
Yes. I still technically have training wheels.
That's right. Yeah.
But they were really like big training wheels at the very beginning. So starting really recently, I'm more in that role of, okay, your responsibilities are kind of upping. You need to bring more to the table as being one of the main writers on a script instead of like the other person. And so this is one of the first times I've done that on an actual movie with someone. So that was like the pressure kind of was on in like a new way. And so for me, I'm also looking at the comments differently. And
interesting.
So a lot of the comments are like people, I don't think they understand that we're watching this as if we don't know like the ending. And so when we're sending something in the middle of the movie, we're not acting like we know everything about the movie. And so there's this one particular sin that I really like enjoyed and people kind of like are poo-pooing on, and I'm way more offended this time about it than I have been before. So that's kind of fun. But it's the whole Fester thing.
Yeah.
You know, Fester has literally like been gone for however many years. So how does anyone know what he looks like? And there's only one painting in the entire place that doesn't look like him. So there's this moment when it fades from the Fester that was found at sea and raised by this crazy woman to the Fester that the family would know. But I realized as I was watching it this time that doesn't make any sense. And there were some other things watching it with these new eyes on, the critical eye or whatever, that surely doesn't line up. But for overall, I think it was still a fun, kooky movie.
We call that sin brain.
I will say the acting is top notch. And especially, I love that you guys brought up Angelica Houston.
Yes.
And Christina Ricci.
Well, as good as Christina Ricci is, I think she's the one, at least at the time especially,
she
was the one that got all the attention.
Yeah,
I think Angelica Houston is probably the best part of the movie.
Well, that's because I think at the time...
Raul Julia is great too, though. But
there weren't a lot of young girl characters that could be emo or serious or morbid. It was all Disney princess. And so I think that's why she got a lot of attention. And she did a great job.
You had Winona Ryder from like Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands.
That's true.
And then you had, and maybe Heathers. And then you had Christina Ricci and Addams Family, who was way younger than Winona Ryder. So yeah, she's very good. The acting's good. This movie looks amazing. I love the look of this movie.
Yeah, it's fun.
Not all the effects work, but I love the look of it. Even like stuff like Lurch and and just the house and even though the house changes, as you guys pointed out, which is really funny. But like I said, I just don't like that it never knows what. And I think this has a lot to do with the fact that it was a big studio release. I don't know how adept Barry Sonnenfeld is at doing dark comedy. Although I will say, City Slickers is kind of dark, which he had done before this.
It's true.
Or maybe it was right after this. I don't know. But just overall, like, I just like, you have those scenes like where, and you guys touched on this a bunch. You have that scene where Angelica Houston stops Christina Ricci and then hands her the axe or whatever that was.
Right.
And it's like, I'm sitting there thinking like, that's funny.
It's clever.
In a different movie though. But like in this movie, I don't think it makes sense. Like, is she actually chopping him up? Like,
okay, so let's talk about that.
Let's say, like, what is going on here?
Because I actually have
It's like the dude
insight.
with no pants in Big Bang Theory.
I did so much research. Imagine that. Okay. So there's this theory that the Addams clan, the Addams people, that they can't kill each other.
Okay.
Only other people can kill them. And in this movie, there's a moment whenever they're doing the sword fight at the end.
Yeah.
And the dad.
Gomez.
When Gomez has his hand slashed and bleeds. And there's this look of like surprise. And you would think that maybe it's because this guy finally got him. But the theory is through this movie and other like, you know, world building out there for the Addams family is that they can't kill each other, which is why they can electrocute each other and like go chop things and like drink poison, or they cannot hurt their family members. But then like with the mob lynchings of the witches and things, they can be killed by other people. And so there's this whole thread on Reddit about it and just these theories about it. And when you think about it, it actually kind of makes sense because they don't fear each other at all.
I'm sorry. I was just saying, in case you can't edit the previous thing out, Barry Sonnenfeld did not direct City Slickers. That was Ron Underwood. This is actually his directorial debut.
Fair enough.
Oh, interesting.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
Fair. This was Barry Sonnenfeld's first movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he did do the sequel, obviously. He did Get Shorty. He did Men in Black. So, I mean, he was really popular there in the 90s.
I would have gone the opposite way, as opposed to doing research and trying to make this work, and just gone. It's a stupid. Like this is trying to be a stupid movie.
I agree with you, but I feel like they wanted it to be a darker comedy, and like I said, maybe because it was a studio family release, they couldn't quite go there. So I feel like they should have just pulled back more as far as trying to go there. I don't know. So it was too much of a jumble for me. And I watched the show. Growing up in syndication, reruns. It was only on for like 2 seasons, so it wasn't on very long.
My take is I think they really just wanted to emphasize the clever juxtaposition of
and
good
the actors
versus
are on
bad.
board. And that helps. That helps 100%.
Yeah, and it is clever. It really is interesting the way they turn the idea of what good is, what bad is. Now, they aren't always consistent with it, which I love when the video points that out.
That'd be Chris.
Those little sins about, well, if bad is good, why are you,
Everything you've mentioned so far is all Chris.
And I don't think you guys showed this scene. I'm almost positive you didn't show the scene in the video. I don't know if there was ever a sin written around it. But one of my favorite little bits in it, though, is Pugsley holding the stop sign, and then they all like wait for it, and then you hear the cars crash outside, and then what does he say? He says something like "Pugsley, my boy" or something like that. Like they're so happy, you know.
They're proud of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I really enjoyed the anytime anybody can do a weird phobia, gallophobia or something.
Milk?
Yes. Is that what is the fear of milk?
Yeah, it's a fear of milk. That was me.
Yeah, that was good.
That scene was so disgusting.
Right?
I could not handle that. And then he's like spits his cereal out. That was the judge that lives next door, who I did more research on too. Interesting fact about him, he was in Sesame Street. So I watched these super old clips of Sesame Street, and I really enjoyed it. He was called the Mad Painter. And he was in the series, and so
I'm sorry, which character was this?
That was the judge.
The judge.
Oh yeah, wasn't he? I think he was on. Wasn't he on Different Strokes?
I mean,
not Different Strokes.
I went straight to Sesame Street.
I thought he was on I thought it was Bentley from the Jeffersons, but I could be wrong. I'm not going to look it up. But because we don't do that here.
There hasn't been another tortured judge this bad until the Paddington movies.
But you guys make the good point though, like with the judge, like why wouldn't he have already like stopped them from hitting the golf balls?
Also, Chris.
Yeah.
He so my favorite one that I wrote was the ball sack skewered by a ball sack. That one.
That was hilarious.
That was my favorite one because I happened to pause it on the graveyard, and you're looking around at all these interesting. I did way too much research on like trying to figure out. There's not.
You really need to stop that. We don't do that.
There's
here
not
today.
a lot of documentation about the creation of the art in this one.
Yeah.
One of the ones I'm most proud of was the art sculpture that was in the office, where it's like he was about women spreading. That one.
Was this the one that popped up in like every room?
No, although that was also me. Because that was everywhere. But that art, the art that was in the bad guy, the greedy guy's room, office at the very beginning, there's all this interesting art, and I think that the people who made the set, they created all the sculptures for like there's just not a lot written about that process, those people, what happens to that art afterwards. I took a picture of the art that was on the wall to try to make so if this art belonged to somebody, I wanted to give that person credit for it. Couldn't find it anywhere. I did like reverse Google image searches. I did lens searches for it, trying to find if there was anything out there that was this particular painting. Couldn't find it anywhere. I'm like, well, what happened to that painting? Did they just throw all that stuff away?
Probably.
We need to create a section in this podcast where we can talk about stuff like this.
Danae's research.
Yeah, or open tabs.
We could call it keeping tabs or something like that.
Oh, right.
I'm totally
but
kidding.
It was part of the sin.
No, it was just that joke popped in my head and I couldn't let it go. I swear.
You're right.
I just thought that the ball sack on ball sack on ball sack was the new beige on beige on beige.
Maybe that's my thing. That's my thing.
That was great. And then, and I don't know if this was the way, and I don't know if this was a combination of sins both of you wrote and just kind of worked into this whole thing. But the way the narrator did this, I always felt like there was like this fight with understanding the internal logic of the movie. Kind of some of the stuff I'm bringing up that I was having issues with. Where, is it a dark comedy? Is it a light comedy? What's going on here?
Right.
And just the way a lot of it was, it was the writing, obviously, and then the way Jeremy just went through the script. It kind of felt like he kept elevating that to where at the end he was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like that was what I kept thinking in my head.
Yeah.
No, that was definitely Chris. This was a really interesting experience also in the writing where I kind of had an aha moment as a writer. And when I was reading Chris's script, I kept thinking, well, I thought that too. Oh, I thought that too. And I realized I have more writing that I can like put into my script. So even though this one, it's kind of a monument one for me. It's one that if I stick this landing and I'm part of the team for an extended period of time, this will be one of those scripts that stands out for me. Not because I had a great time writing it or because I liked what was inside of it, but because as a writer, when I was reading Chris's script, I realized I could do I could do this as a writer and
I just
bring
have to
something
write down
to the
what
table.
I'm thinking.
Yeah. So that was kind of an exciting
There's actually something I'll talk about in Pet Sematary a thing I picked up from like the way Chris wrote something one time early on. I was like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
But did you do the Christmas movie thing or did Chris? I mean,
Chris.
Okay.
Yep.
But regardless,
Well-
what I liked about that was that that's kind of become a weird running gag between recently. Because Barrett wrote one in First Blood, and I just think it's interesting that but different writers are doing it each time.
Is it the point about if it starts on or if it's in Christmas?
Yeah,
That was Chris.
It's basically making fun of the Die Hard.
Yes.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie thing. I know this was Chris, but this was a Starfish one. It's the girl who played Misty in Hatchet.
Yeah.
I know there's no way you've seen Hatchet, so nor would you like it, nor is it a very good movie. But it was just one of those random things. Like also, it's the girl who played Misty in Hatchet.
Yeah.
She's also on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
There's a great nod to product placement in this video as
my
well.
God.
Where I forget exactly what it was, but it was just a huge sign, took up the entire screen behind them.
the Tombstone Pizza.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
Yes,
the movie we saw last night that
was also Chris.
We may or may not be doing a mini pod on later today. Had the weirdest product placement I've ever seen. And
Right?
I cannot wait to talk about
Yeah,
that.
that's fascinating.
But what was it? Oh, Nuclear Skip.
Oh, that was so good. That was also Chris. But how
But
Jeremy
there-
delivered
yes.
it. Nuclear skip.
That's not the first nuclear skip.
Really?
We've that may be the third nuclear skip.
Now that you
was
say
so
that,
fun.
now
It's
that you
great.
say that,
It's
you're
so fun.
absolutely
Well,
right.
I only mention it because I've wanted to use it. I'm like, no, I probably should kind of stay its
But that was a
random
perfect one.
occasional thing.
Because it was
so,
it with the woman.
And the only other thing was just the fact that the screenwriters wouldn't have made Dan Hedaya and the woman's reason for bringing the reason that Fester is being weird is because he has amnesia. Why they wouldn't have just said that
I know,
instead of making this insane story.
It was so weird.
So I loved that sin.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, you've got to point that out.
That was one of the ones where when I read Chris's, I thought that too. That would be so much easier. I didn't write anything on this one, but I tried to kind of figure my way through it. How strange it is that this woman is married. You think that she's going to be bad, and then they literally fly out of the castle and fall. It's like the Dr. Penderschlast or whatever, and the other guy. They come out of their house and they fly through the air into coffins. Then they're buried alive, and that's never mentioned. And then the wife becomes its lover.
Yeah.
And it's only been a few months, and it was just okay, I guess we're just moving on from that.
And it's been a long time since I've seen Addams Family Values, but if I remember correctly, that one just goes into almost like we were talking about with Ryan Murphy with American Horror Story. That one just goes into self-parody. It just goes way off the rails because you've got that just made me think with her being with it. You've got Joan Cusack coming in and playing this insane character. Christina Ricci at summer camp, killing. Yeah. So this is a weird. It's
a weird world.
Yeah. I even though I wasn't I don't think this movie aged well. I was always kind of sad back then they didn't make 2 or 3 more of these just because I love the cast.
Yeah.
Of course, Raul Julia passed away. That didn't help.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ready to move on? Pet Sematary.
Skip.
Not really. But.
Skip.
Pet Sematary was a Cher Watkins joint, so this was Barrett Jonathan.
And we actually did, earlier this year, before this one came out, Barrett and I did the 1989 Pet Sematary, which we weren't doing this show yet. So
Danae is not going to.
I have 2 notes on it.
Okay.
You did watch the video?
I started to watch it, and then I realized where it was going. I had no idea about the storyline.
Oh, okay.
So but once I kind of realized that a kid's probably going to get killed and then get brought back to life, I thought I'd kind of skip forward past the drama of that, and I ended up skipping right to the point where it happens.
Oh no!
So that was disturbing. And then, but I did get to see the watch the glassware tiny dancer moment, which I thought was so freaking hilarious.
Barrett always makes that song
I
funny.
mean, that was so great. So there was that sin, and then these are my 2 notes. Watch the glassware tiny dancer. Also, I hated it. So that's pretty much my input for the
this movie is terrible.
I haven't seen it.
And you didn't see it when it came out?
I have no desire to see it. No.
No, it's bad. It might be better.
Nuclear skin.
It might be better than the 1989 version, but like that's just one of those conversations I never want to have with anybody. And
you won't be having it with me.
It's a great book. I just say to anyone that's interested in it, read the book. The book is scary. It's fun. It's like everything the movies are not.
And this video, in the most fun way possible, reminds us that the books don't matter. That was really fun.
That was as far as writing this, that was an interesting thing because Barrett and I both kind of fought with how much do we reference the original because we did just recently do that.
Yeah.
And also, like you said, the books don't matter. So because we did reference the books a couple times for the original one.
Yeah.
This one changes so much. Like the I don't even care about spoiling it. The different kid dies.
Right.
In the original and in the book, it's the smaller child that dies, which is much more traumatic. I mean, any kid dying is traumatic, but like for some reason that's just even worse. And but Stephen King writes that in a way that while it is horrible, it works within the story. The movies just almost make it just shock value. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not scary. And then we even point the final shot in this movie is so good.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie, but the impression that I got is like the final shot is all resurrected, the entire family.
Yeah, and they're like playing this music, and then like the youngest kid, Gage, he has not been hurt yet or resurrected, so he's just sitting in the car like watching his like zombified family like walk towards him, and then it just fades to black. I mean, it's one of those just like great kind of like almost like Tales from the Crypt.
It's like you had this ending and you blew the rest of the movie.
It was very much like an EC Comics kind of fashion. And it's like, why couldn't the rest of the movie been like that? Because the movie fights. It's one of those movies that fights a lot with like, there's already been one version of it. We don't want to be just like that. So we're going to change up some stuff. But then it leaves in stuff that doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
It's a mess. Great acting. I mean, it's a great cast.
I'm almost 100% positive I would not enjoy this movie.
No, you would not.
But I did enjoy this video. I thought it was really well done. There's a moment where one of the characters said he's angry at God and he says something about let God take his own son. Yeah. And then the way that was worded in the sin about, hey, I don't know if you know this, but there's an entire faith system.
And I think that was Barrett's. I think we both actually wrote something very similar because that was really weird.
It is really weird. Was that intentional? Did the movie do that intentionally? If they did, I don't get it. Like it's a really weird thing.
And I wrote the one too where there is this whole interesting thing where like one of the good scenes in the movie is Jason Clarke is talking to his daughter about where like people go when they die and stuff like that. And then you find out he doesn't really he does not believe. He
said something in the Sins videos like I believe it's over when you die.
I have a question.
Okay.
There's a moment at the very beginning when he's like an ER doctor and then a guy shows up dying and then says don't break the barrier or whatever.
Yeah, Pascal, yeah.
Okay. So was he someone who was brought back from the graveyard?
No. And that's why we write the sin, because what happens is like this guy, and this happens in the book too, which this is one of the things I don't ever get, but this Pascal guy, okay, so Jason Clarke's character, he has just moved to this small town. He was a Boston ER doctor. So he moves to this small town, becomes like the university doctor because he thinks he can work during the day. He's not going to have to deal with a bunch of trauma and stuff like that. And then like his first day, this guy comes in that's been like hit by a car and he dies. And then for the rest of the book, movie, whatever, in both versions of the movie, this guy guy comes back and keeps giving him warnings. So I didn't touch on it in the 89 version, but in this version, I decided to write something because I started thinking, like, is this saying that, like, God would kill someone so they can come back as a ghost and tell you not to bury a cat somewhere? Because I was like, that is some fucked up logic.
But
if that's what you're trying to tell me.
So he's just a ghost. He's not a zombie.
Yeah, and that makes no sense either. And then like even the mom, the mom, the Amy Simon's character, she has this horrible past with her sister, who
died in a dumbwaiter apparently.
Yeah, and then she kind of gets haunted by her, but the movie never explains any of this because they have nothing to do with the pet cemetery.
Right.
So it's very confusing. But that's why I wrote that sin because
Gotcha.
he shouldn't be in that movie. There's no reason for this ghost to be like telling him these things. Somebody's going to comment on this and say I'm full of crap, and they're going to explain. They're going to explain.
Well, I think
why.
that's a given no matter what we say.
But what but that's true. But that's one thing. This movie kind of it opens up some interesting topics, like the way parents talk to kids about religion, especially when you have two parents that have differing opinions, and beliefs. That is so fascinating. And there are definitely a horror movie you can make with that subject matter. But this movie just goes from that to let's just have jump scares and people being gross.
Yay! Gross outs and jump scares. My favorite.
Yeah, that's all it is. And so
somebody should just make a TV show called Gross Outs and Jump Scares. The TV show.
The thing about Chris though, where like I worked on an early script with him, where he would just go off on these tangents about mostly stuff he was irritated with or whatever, or stuff that happened in his past, and he would turn it into this funny thing. And so like that's what I did with the Joe Madden thing, where I have that one scene where he starts going, this is just like Joe Madden bringing in that pitcher in Game 7 of the World Series, because that was me literally screaming at the television. My wife would tell you.
I knew that was you.
Yeah.
I 100% knew that Cubs thing was you.
Yeah, and I mean, I was screaming at the television like an idiot that night, and so that just was something that popped in my head randomly. And I love that I love incorporating stuff like that in there because it's just so bizarre.
Yeah. I think it's hilarious because early on in my script writing career, I made the narrator a Tigers fan. And so now the narrator is also a Cubs fan.
I don't know if he's a Cubs fan, but I think he was just pointing out that was a bad decision. Now I have some oatmeal. Ho, ho, ho. That was Barrett. And the way Jeremy read that was great. Cat Scratch Eater. That was also Barrett. I thought you might appreciate that.
By the way, somebody in this room has actually had cat scratch fever and almost died from it.
Oh, no. Oh, well,
it's a real story.
That is a true story.
It's not based on allergy. It's based on cats are nasty. And they can actually poison and kill you. And
I didn't know that was a legit thing. I thought it was just a song.
I didn't either until the ER doctor was like, you are about minutes from being dead. You should have come to the ER way earlier.
So basically what happens when the cat has something under its its claws, right? When it scratches you, that gets into your blood.
So you get an infection.
I was bit by my house cat.
And so in this case, whatever germ that is was in the mouth, but it can also be in the claws. And it just gets into your blood system and it makes its way to your heart. And once it gets to your heart, you're done.
You're done. And I almost died and didn't know
That's not cool.
I stopped for McDonald's.
I don't know how to transition.
On the way to the hospital.
I don't know how to transition to this, but I was also going to say you can Wendigo fuck yourself.
I don't think there's any transitioning on the show anymore. I think it's just hard, like really strange, awkward pauses and then just like an immediate shift.
And that was another thing. There's this whole thing in the movie where like they make a mention of a Wendigo, so you're supposed to kind of assume maybe that's what these ghosts are. They're actually Wendigos.
They're those big RV vehicles that you drive on vacation. Exactly. I had no clue that ghosts.
No, Wendigos are like Indian legends. They're like shapeshifters and all that kind of stuff. But and so I had a sin about that, which Barrett took out, and then Barrett had a sin where he was saying they didn't explain something. I was like, they don't do a good job of explaining. I was like, but they do bring up the Wendigo thing, so we might at least want to, because I know somebody's going to be in the comments. They fucking said it was Wendigo. And and then he wrote that brilliant.
That's a great way to tag it.
And then both weeks' videos had American Beauty outtakes, which I thought was hilarious.
It's the kismet. That's always
and it was
great.
Different writers, different editors, everything.
I love it when that happens.
And we still
We're in sync.
Yeah. Yes, our writing cycles have synced up.
That's right.
Now that we've been spending time
together. But this
was
definitely a case where I had a lot of fun. It was a terrible movie, but it was a joy to work on.
Yeah.
Destroy. Yeah.
They're not always, but this one was I didn't want to. The only thing that sucked was I had to watch it again.
Problem is,
I had already seen it.
Problem is, you killed this movie and buried it, but
it came back.
It's gonna come back.
It'll come back in like 20 years.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. We ready to move on to keeping tabs?
Let's do it.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
I'll start. I already did so much of them. So
Hey, can I say something really quick? For 17 episodes, I have this like generic like sheet I keep pulling up, and I still have never changed this. I still have it called Open Tabs. It has never been called that.
No.
no, even from the very beginning.
Nope.
But it still says that on my on
Nice.
my thing.
Welcome to the Open Tab section.
Which is what I called it earlier too when I was making that joke.
So yeah, Danae, go ahead. Start us off.
No, I'm serious. I actually covered a lot of them when I was talking.
Okay. Do you have one more? Because we're just
yeah.
each going to do one. So
Yeah.
why don't you start?
I was really curious who did the It acting for Addams Family. So I ended up looking into Christopher Hart, who apparently has done multiple of there's apparently a horror movie where like a hand kills people. And he was the hand in that one.
Are you talking about Thing or
Oh,
It?
yeah, I'm sorry. Thing.
Yeah,
Thank
I was
you.
really confused there for a second.
You should be, 'cause
Isn't it Lurch, though? Isn't it the same actor playing Lurch?
No.
Oh, okay. So,
Is it a hand model?
Oh, you know what? That was in the show. It was the same actor that played Lurch.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, no, I think I do remember this. But go on.
Yeah, so his name is Christopher Hart.
Yeah, Idle Hands, by the way, is the name of that movie.
Yes, and he was the hand murderer.
He's literally a hand actor.
Yes, and there's not like a ton out there, but apparently he just has a way of being able to emote through his hand.
Is he a magician?
He was a magician,
Yeah, okay.
or is a magician, yes.
Nice
and so
pull.
Sorry, I'm telling your story for you.
No, it's totally fine. He has a lot of dexterity in his fingers. With
I wish
being
you
able
could
to
see
do things.
Danae's hand movements right now.
I've been practicing.
She's been practicing.
Yeah, I'm actually really. I have a lot of dexterity as well.
I'm basically in a trance now.
Yeah,
just based
so
on
I
your
could
hand
totally
movements.
play. But it was cool to kind of read about some of how they created the character thing. They had a prosthetic on the top of his wrist that was the nub.
Oh, okay.
So that was a prosthetic, which I thought was kind of cool. I watched the worst interview ever. This is super offensive. I'm so snarky. I'm sorry, but he was on a show that's on YouTube where somebody was interviewing him. And
Did they just interview his hand?
No, but she was like, "Oh, awesome! Oh, wow, that's amazing! Wow!"
So it's kind of the
awesome."
female version of the Chris Farley interview from SNL.
So it was like Entertainment News or something, like doing a Thing interview?
Her questions just didn't ask questions that are interesting, not. Anyways, it was so, but I did
like,
watch.
do you have
I did
insurance
watch it.
against arthritis?
Yeah, that would be a good one. I did learn a little bit from that interview though, and it was kind of neat to see him, do a little bit of like, here's if I'm gonna fall off of a bumper, how can I make it interesting and kind of put my hands like I'm falling. So he really was kind of getting into it. Also, the scene where he's playing chess. He was under that table for hours and his hand was totally numb.
Aww.
So the take that ended up making it, he actually couldn't feel his hand. And so he had to watch the monitor to figure out where stuff was. So it kind of looked a little fumbly, but he actually like couldn't.
Making sacrifices
I don't remember
for
if
your
it was
craft,
that
man.
or the kitchen table scene, but there was some scene where his hand is on the table, and it was the only scene where you could tell it wasn't
when he was doing Morse code.
It wasn't a detached. Maybe, because you could see like the circle that what he was coming up through.
Yeah, he was trying to figure out where the chess pieces were, but he just couldn't quite put his finger on it.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, you're welcome.
See, now this is the look I give my computer when you make one of those.
I get to experience it in person.
There it is.
Beautiful.
No, I would say 98% of yours are good though. So
that was in the 2% for sure.
So that was my only other one that I wanted to cover. The rest of them I snuck into the other part.
All right, I'll go next. I really didn't write much on stuff this week. The only thing I wrote on this week was the Friends script. The one thing I researched, and it got cut, and so it's kind of both a deleted and a research, was there's a line about serving salmon at the wedding instead of chicken because of worrying about salmonella. And I had a joke about, obviously...
Salmonella?
Yeah, I had a joke about... Well,
even I know that one.
Well, I had a joke that talked about something that's not called Chickenella, so obviously... And it was obviously like playing dumb kind of joke or whatever, but I did the research and technically you can get salmonella from salmon. Yeah. But it's very rare. Technically you can get salmonella from anything, if
it's just all food poisoning.
Right.
Me,
yeah.
Right?
But for whatever reason, chicken products especially, that bacteria or whatever it is really loves those.
That's what I've had. And it's awful.
I got salmonella from peanut butter.
Oh, wow.
So,
what?
Yeah.
No, I got it straight up from chicken. KFC. I'm sorry, that shouldn't not KFC.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had it since. It's fine. If KFC
how bad was yours?
If KFC wants to advertise, I did not end up going to the hospital. I thought I was my wife was gonna take me because I couldn't keep anything down, but finally apple juice stayed down.
Yeah.
So I could stay hydrated.
Yeah.
So and it was late at night, so I slept. I didn't sleep, but
it was juice for me too. Juice is what kept
water
me going.
was not doing anything.
Yeah.
And obviously soda and stuff. But finally juice kept me down, so I didn't have to go to the hospital.
Yeah, I
but
didn't
it was
either.
Bad.
I almost had to go to the hospital for salmonella.
It was almost 24 hours.
All three of us had salmonella.
Yeah.
Is this just a common thing? Do most people get salmonella at some
Mine
point?
was raw chicken though.
You ate raw chicken?
No, I touched it with my hand.
Well, and what's weird about food poisoning?
It had been sitting out for days.
Oof.
What's weird about food poisoning,
so I got really sick.
that I've always heard is that you could have a casserole. 10 people could eat from that casserole, but one person could eat it could just be a spot.
Sure, yeah.
And so one person could get really sick, and then everybody else is fine.
My husband
it's the
didn't
craziest
know
thing.
that salmonella was a real thing or whatever, and so I had cut chicken for dinner. It was on the cutting board.
Yeah.
And then he put it directly into the dishwasher, and I left. I think I was gone for the weekend, came back and the dishwasher hadn't been run.
He put the cutting board in the dishwasher,
Yes.
not the raw chicken.
Correct.
Okay.
And so when I opened up the dishwasher, I reached in to put the dishes away, but they were still dirty. And when I realized that they were dirty and I realized what I was touching, I instantly knew I was going to get sick, because there's no way that 2 days in a warm dishwasher environment that there's not just a petri dish of disgust.
Yeah.
And so I got on to Justin about it. I was like, you have got to wash this. He goes, oh, it's not a big deal. You're making a big deal out of nothing. If you didn't say that, that was his general attitude. And then
Thanks for clarifying.
I got super, super sick. And he goes, I remember him being like, oh man, this is real. I'm so sorry. So
salmonella is
since
real.
Since then, we scrub everything before.
Well, and it's not fun. And you also don't know at first. This is a weird topic to get onto, but you also don't know at first whether or not you're just sick. You could just have a virus or something.
Yeah, sure.
But it's kind of one of those weird things where you get sick and then you feel fine for 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden you start feeling like crap again. Yeah, so it's oh, that's food poisoning.
So anyways, I wrote this in, and we ended up cutting it because I think we weren't sure if maybe that was part of the joke.
I remember the sin. I don't remember. Yeah, that's what I think.
I think it was
right.
that maybe Monica's making that joke, but if she is, she's not making it well.
Yeah.
So, but just to be safe, we cut it, I think. Yeah. But anyways, I find it interesting that it actually has the word salmon in it. But it's not really, it really should be called Chickenella. It really should.
It should.
Or just food poisoning.
That as well. What do you got, Jonathan?
Okay, so, I didn't have I looked up some Wendigo stuff, but I couldn't find anything I looked up that was all that interesting. So this is a little off the beaten path, but you guys talked a lot about laugh tracks last week with Creasy, and I didn't get to be a part of that conversation, so... But I did write on Big Bang
By the way,
Theory.
Jonathan, it didn't mean anything to us. We're committed to you, okay?
No,
this is the marriage, Jonathan.
You guys did awesome, but I did mention last night it does feel like my wife asked me if I was still if I liked that episode. I said I did, but it did feel like I was being cheated on.
Yeah.
That's a new thing for me.
Didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything.
I hear you.
Speak for yourself.
If somebody's gonna leave me for, Creasy's a good guy to leave me for.
We want to talk to you about having an open podcast.
But laugh tracks don't bother me, I think, as much as they bother you and Creasy and stuff. And I started I don't know. So I started just doing some research on them and stuff. I will say though, Big Bang Theory, it's pretty obnoxious.
Yeah.
More so than most. But I don't know. And you didn't say you didn't like shows with laugh tracks. You just said that's a big turnoff.
Well, I don't. But
you don't? Okay.
Mm-mm.
But here are some shows that are some of my all-time favorites that have laugh tracks.
Oh, the old shows where laugh tracks were just kind of you can't get away from it.
There's some Seinfeld, but not all of them did.
Right.
Seinfeld. Blackadder is an all-time favorite of mine. I don't know if you ever watched that. Cheers, Frasier, Friends, That 70s Show, Taxi, speaking of Christopher Lloyd, Family Ties, my all-time favorite sitcoms, News Radio, and The Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yep.
Both. And I know what you're saying, but I don't know. They just, for whatever reason, they don't bother me. I guess they can be obnoxious, and maybe in today's world they don't really make sense anymore. But I think that's just because nobody's doing them.
I think
other than Chuck Lorre.
Yeah. Well, I think it turned from something that was supposed to be just kind of a hey, we're in the room watching a play together kind of thing, to this manipulative, forced thing that they became, by the 90s. And it's just like, I don't know.
Well,
it came to a point where the ones that were obnoxious about it ruined the ones that weren't, because now every time I hear something that doesn't feel like real laughter, I just get annoyed.
Well, in doing research on it, I found, like, I didn't know this, that, like, originally it was canned. It was brought in. As it was false. And then they eventually started doing shows in front of live audiences. Dick Van Dyke started doing that. Lucille Ball started doing that.
Man, can you imagine having been at one of those tapings? How fun would that
I mean,
have
then
been?
it would have been probably nothing, but you're like, oh, whatever. But yeah, oh my God, that would have been amazing. I still watch the Dick Van Dyke Show. It's on.
Do you know that's my favorite TV show of all time?
No,
it's my number one.
Oh wow, that's
Dick
awesome.
Van Dyke is my number one.
It's up there for me for
above
sure.
Lost, above X-Files. Like I love that show.
I like him so much. I've seen every episode of Diagnosis Murder. Just FYI. But it was interesting just reading about kind of how it originated. But then it does seem like now it has kind of gotten more back to and even like with Big Bang Theory, it does feel like they're really like I don't know, bringing it in more as opposed to what the audience is doing. And then based on what you were saying, when you went and saw the Tim Allen show, Last Man Standing, that's insane because
crazy, man.
I went to a taping. This was the Jamie Foxx had a show back when it was the WB. It was just called the Jamie Foxx Show. I saw the pilot of that tape, and I don't remember that kind of stuff happening. It wasn't
as bad when I went to Jimmy Kimmel.
Okay,
like, it wasn't as bad there, but I don't think they're trying for the same thing.
Yeah. So, anyways, that was just kind of what I got involved in this past week because I just found it an interesting subject matter.
All right, we ready to move on to the comment section?
Let's do it.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're going to each pick a comment to respond to from the week's videos, or if you're Danae, you pick up to 23.
That's right.
We're just doing one, right?
Yes. Okay. Yes, we're just doing one. And then we'll move on to your question for the week. But why don't you kick us off, Jonathan?
So there was this Sin in the Good Place where Chidi, I believe, says acting good, and then I put it's actually acting well. And because I'm that asshole that does that. Right. So I thought that would be fun to kind of make fun of myself and use the narrator to do that. But then we had somebody come in. Alex W. said it really was acting good. Acting well would be executing the task of acting properly. Acting good is acting as if you are good. I'll go ahead and give myself 10 sins for being annoying while I shuffle away in shame, and another 10 for pointing out that I don't feel well means your nerves are malfunctioning, and you should probably get that checked out. So that was a great way to like shame me.
That is a great comment. That is a really well.
But I still, I'd have to go back and watch it. But I still feel like the way he said it, though, I think he should have said well. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna make fun of me, at least you did it very nicely. And then kind of made fun of themselves too. So.
Danae, do you have more than one? Are you going to try to force a couple in here?
I could, but I'm not going to today.
All right, why don't you go ahead then?
Okay, this one comes from the Addams Family. Fun fact, this is from The Kid Nobody Notices. That's the name of the person's username.
That's unfortunate.
Makes me sad, but
it's also not true, considering we are now talking about them on a podcast.
Right? Well, now you're noticed, that kid. Electrocuted, the word electrocuted, comes from the words electric and executed, meaning death by electricity. So if somebody survives, they were only shocked.
That is correct.
I did not know that. And so that was kind of part of the script. And so they were sort of honing in. So kind of similar to your comment where we're just talking about specific words to use and when to use them. I actually enjoyed, I got myself a little learned.
There's so many fun things. Like for whatever reason, that reminded me of the difference between poisonous and venomous that people get often wrong. If something is poisonous, it's something that you ingest, but if it's venomous, it's something that something else like puts in you. Whoa. So yeah, I don't know.
So I don't understand that at all. We'll have to talk about it later.
So like if like Danae and you and Danae held me down and Danae like poured poison in my mouth, that would be venomous.
I'm with you.
Even though it was poison coming in my mouth.
Well, I think the main place people get it wrong, they say poisonous snakes.
Oh, I got you. They're venomous snakes.
But that would have to be a snake that if you ate them, it was poison. They're venomous.
Which
snakes.
I guess could
happen. Could be. There could be poisonous snakes out there. You don't know. Is there air? I don't know. Sorry.
God, I love Galaxy Quest.
All right. Mine is from the Friends video. Says, you forgot the sin that Emily's wedding dress is not the wedding dress that Monica picked up for her a few episodes earlier.
We didn't do that.
No, we see Monica wear it multiple times in This Ain't It. I was aware of this, but this is one of those interesting things where and we've never done this on TV Sins, it opens up kind of a can of worms if we start talking about episodes we haven't sinned now that we're doing like a group, because do you go get you'd have to have video of it in that case.
You would need to have like a visual
You'd have
reference.
to go to a video we aren't sinning to grab the video from.
And that's why we discussed when we started this, like if we did do multiple episodes, are we just going to do them in order? But like some of these you just can't do that. I think stuff like this is going to happen, and it's just going to have to.
I think
narrator
didn't
watch it.
The main thing that we have to just live with, I guess, is that we won't be able to do. I shouldn't say we won't be able to, but we won't often do, if at all, those sins that are more galaxy brain sins of entire series. What about this? Visual representation that is now different. So we'll try to keep it within the episode just for simplicity's sake.
If we can find a fun way to do it, we definitely will.
Oh, absolutely,
and that's what it
100%,
usually comes down to. But now that you say that, I remember it, but I did not think about it then.
And also, she could have changed her mind and gotten a new dress. Okay, gosh.
Yeah,
totally. And there were also a lot of people that commented on that. I noticed were saying that we didn't give a send off for Chandler and Monica.
Yeah.
We probably should have, but that, I mean,
again, we've talked about the sin off thing.
I mean, it is what it is.
Like
we decided to give it to Hugh Laurie.
I don't know if we've talked about this specifically, but also again with doing a series of episodes, if you give a sin off for Chandler in the first episode, we're not going to give a sin off for Chandler every single time we do an episode.
And I've noticed because you've been writing a lot of the send-offs, and I haven't. I think I actually did the Hugh Laurie one, but I've noticed you've been kind of trying to acknowledge a different
each of
actor,
the cast,
so I guess I can't talk about one in the future, but everybody kind of gets their due.
All right, let's move on to the question for this week. This comes to us from upstate New York, from Chris at ClatDog on Twitter, if you want to give him a follow.
I did.
Greetings from upstate New York. My wife and I just recently watched the new Child's Play movie. I'm sorry. And as odd as it sounds, we actually kind of felt bad for Chucky. Not sure if any of you have seen it yet, but without spoiling anything, he legitimately seems like a kid that wanted to play that, as my wife put it, misses social cues. My question is, have you ever seen a movie, scary or otherwise, in which you unexpectedly felt bad for the villain, even though everything says you shouldn't?
The remake of Child's Play, that might have been my first Beyond the Suns. It was my first or second. I don't remember which now, but it was very early on in this podcast. That was one.
Yeah, you did talk about that.
That's right. And I actually, I'm sorry, I guess I'm just making myself go first. I agree with his take on Child's Play. That is very true. Did you see it yet? Or you probably aren't going to see it. It's not bad, though. It's not like Pet Sematary. It's actually decent. But he does feel kind of like, even though he's a toy, he does feel like he just wants to be accepted. And he thinks by killing this kid that's bullying Andy, that will make Andy like him more.
I mean, it's very much a Toy Story thing. I mean, you could say the same thing about all the Toy Story villains, are very similar, especially Toy Story 4. There's a lot of empathy for the villains in Toy Story 4.
And the bear in 3. For sure. So I agree with his take on that. I think Norman Bates, maybe you kind of have some sympathy for, just because there was a lot of childhood issues there. Even if you don't necessarily see that in the movies. I guess they did make Psycho 4, and then of course they made Bates Motel. I also Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver, which I've actually talked about on the Sincast before when I was on. There's a moment in Taxi Driver where he takes Sybil Shepherd to a movie, and it's a porn, but that's all he's ever experienced in a theater, so he just thought that's what people did.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of one of those...
What a date that would be.
Well, this was back... I mean,
Danae has questions.
I don't know that they have porn theaters anymore, but back in the day, like in the 70s and in New York City, there were just all over the place. New York City in the 70s and New York City in 2019, two very different places.
Yep.
But anyways, it's this really sad moment where, she's really upset with him, but you can see it in his performance and everything. You can see that, he did not mean to offend her, and he thought this is what he should be doing.
So is that the character that you feel sorry for?
Yeah, that's kind of that. Those are the two I came up with.
Nice. Danae?
So I noticed as you read it that, the question is who do you feel bad for that you that everything says you shouldn't.
Yeah. It's very explicitly worded and becomes very tricky because it both says unexpectedly felt bad.
Yeah, because
which is another thing.
I had General Francis Hummel from The Rock at one point, but then I thought I don't think you ever think he's evil though.
Yeah.
So that didn't really work.
I went through a lot of movies that I went to Google and I Googled top movies from these different decades to try to remind myself of what I've watched, since I forget what I've watched.
Right.
And every time that there was like a clear villain, I think I'm just one of those people that buys the villain, and the movie doesn't often give time to the villain to give backstory and context. And so that's something I think that is happening more with storytelling.
Sure.
To give the other person's view, like we see that with Thanos, for example.
That's a good one, actually.
But at the same time, the movie is giving you permission to feel for him. So I was trying to kind of stay true to the question.
Sure.
And because, so the one for me that stands out and always will is The Phantom of the Opera, which, I mean, is a movie, but when I listened to it as an opera.
That might be the best answer.
Because here's the Phantom, who is obviously a very big bad guy. As the story progresses and you're listening to the music and you're listening to the context and reading the story later, like, that's how I was introduced to it. I listened to the soundtrack first, then I read about it in a book, and then when the movies came out later, I watched the movies. So that's how I was introduced to so I fell in love with the music first. And as you're listening to the lyrics is when you learn to read between the lines and realize that his story is tragic. So even though, and he's beautiful, like he's terrifying and beautiful.
Yeah.
And so he's obviously doing terrible things, kidnapping and killing people. That's awful. But there's a reason that he has been ostracized from community, and you kind of, learn more about that as time goes on. So
yeah, that's a great choice.
And it doesn't, it doesn't take away to the fact that he is gifted. He's a gifted composer and singer. So here's somebody who has gifts and talents and has been shunned and been mistreated horribly by society, and there's a reason that he has become this person. So that's the first. That's going to be the top.
Is that the only one you have? Oh, see, now I feel bad. I did too, because I assumed Danae would have 10. So,
You're good.
And I would still look okay.
Man, I wore the snot out of that soundtrack. Phantom of the Opera.
I love.
It's so good.
It's the first musical I've ever.
I don't know that I've liked the movie version of that. By the way,
there isn't necessarily a great movie version.
The Gerard Butler one is okay.
I didn't mind the most recent one. I went fan crazy with Phantom of the Opera. That's one where I started to obsess about it, and so I even watched the old cartoon.
I wonder if they call the Phantom of the Opera fan club with a PHAN.
Probably.
I think that
should.
That was what they should do. Mine is, I went through a couple, and then like you, the question kind of zoned me in a little bit, and I'm still not sure I really answered it completely appropriately, but I thought about Anakin, but I don't know that that's unexpected, especially
maybe in episodes 4 through 6 it is.
That's what
but then we've discovered
exactly, and you don't necessarily feel all that empathy in 4 through 6. Like you feel it later. I thought of Loki. Loki's an interesting example.
I thought about Loki too,
but I think it was intentional.
But he kind of presents as a goofy, lovable.
Yeah. What I landed with was King Kong.
I have a really hard time with that movie because it's so sad.
That's so good.
Yeah, I think that's the one I land with. And again, he absolutely is the villain.
Yeah,
he is destroying cities and killing people and takes the girl. But the fact that he takes the girl, we find out to protect her, and he's trying, and the whole final, line, it was beauty that killed the beast. And just, there's a lot of empathy there, and it's a really beautiful kind of turn. So that's kind of where my brain landed.
They recently had Siegfried and Royce on 2020. They recently did a thing on them, and they were talking about how whichever one didn't get attacked truly believes that the tiger thought the other one was hurt, and that's why. Because he bit down on him like a cub. Like he would bit down on a cub and then dragged him away from everybody. And you just made me think of that when you said that thing about King Kong. And the fact that they brought King Kong over here. Like he was fine.
Right, yeah.
Like he was just chilling in the jungle on his own island where he was not hurting anybody.
Right.
And then they bring him to the States. And that's a tough movie for me to ever grasp onto. All versions of it. Just because I don't know who I'm supposed to feel for. Yeah. It's just, but maybe that's a good thing about it.
I really like the Peter Jackson version. I think I like it more than most people. I see its flaws. I get that there are flaws there, but I have a good time with it.
It's got some good stuff. I mean, the original I think is still my favorite.
Yes.
Though. Just the Harry House. No, is that Harry? I don't know. Whatever. The original is my favorite, but Peter Jackson's got its moments.
Absolutely. Well, there you go. Thank you, Chris, for your question. If you have a question you want to ask us, all you got to do is let us know. You can send us an email at behindthesinspod@gmail.com. Don't forget the pod, behindthesinspod@gmail.com. All right, let's move on to Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
I'm going to chat about something else from the world of pop culture that you've seen recently. Can be good, bad, whatever. I'll kick it off this time. I made my way through Big Mouth Season 3 on Netflix.
Nice. I haven't seen it yet.
Have you seen Seasons 1 and 2?
I believe I finished Season 2, yes.
Is more of the same.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that this show is allowed to exist.
Yeah, this is a true, this show exists. Not in a bad way.
No, just how did this happen? What is incredible about this show, beyond the fact that it's hilarious, which it is. Some of the greatest comedy minds of today are having a blast writing this show. Beyond the fact that it's hilarious, the fact that it's talking so explicitly about adolescence, about sexuality, about all of these things, and I mean explicitly, both words and visuals explicitly about this stuff, is actually in a strange way the best kind of sex ed.
I was gonna say,
it's. They could use it in schools in some ways.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, obviously, younger kids don't need to watch this, but I think teenagers, I wouldn't. I mean, you got to know your kid.
Well, and know the content. Understand that it's not just sex ed. It is also being body to be body. It's being transgressive in a lot of ways.
If your
as well.
kid's watching Rick and Morty, though. They can watch this.
Yeah, again, it's a know your kids thing, know yourself thing. Do the research, understand it. It is, again, explicit in about every way you can imagine. But I don't know. There's something warm-hearted about it.
There's something, and I love when stuff like this can do that. But there's something there. It's not only smart, but it's also got it's not just shock value.
Well, and also,
we were talking about Sematary.
Part of it is, and I think we've talked a little bit about this before. I think the explicitness is its strength.
Yeah.
Because we're so scared to talk about these things.
Yeah.
That we don't actually talk about these things, and this shows
we talked about them on the podcast.
Well, that's right. That's right. So.
Come here for your sex education, everyone.
Yeah, I'm really sad I missed out on the period conversation.
Well, we can have it again. We'll just rehash
More
it.
than welcome,
by the way, as we're listening to this in the car on the way home, my daughter had her headphones on. She was listening to something else. But as you were saying your stuff, my wife was just nodding along, yep.
Really?
Yep.
Good. Okay.
You're talking about how uncomfortable it was, and just to be sitting there and just feel it's yes. That is true.
Yeah, and shout out to the mothers who pee themselves when you sneeze.
Yes. Shout out.
I got you, girls.
That is, again, why I think it's important to be... you don't have to be crass, although this show is crass at times, but it is important to be explicit sometimes with your conversations because it's the only way you can actually talk about stuff. And
this is more what I want South Park to be, I think, for me personally. And South Park is smart.
I'm not saying South Park to educate you about body.
No, well, I'm not saying... And South Park has a lot of merit, but I've just never latched on to South Park the way a lot of people have. But I did immediately... Barrett actually introduced me to this, and I immediately latched on to this. And
Big Mouth, you mean?
Yeah, Big Mouth. And I immediately latched on to the Big Mouth. I just said that. And yeah, I don't know. I guess for what some people get out of something like South Park, I get more out of this, would be the way I would put it.
Animation can do things that live action can't.
For sure.
I mean, it is these... I don't know. It's again, it blows my mind that this is even allowed. And yet somehow I'm there's positiveness to this being around, and to being able to have those conversations. And
because
we've all been there. We all went through adolescence. It's a weird thing, man. Hormones are weird, and the fact that this show embodies the idea of your hormones, your motives, all those things as a separate entity that is controlling you. They're actually they're working on a spinoff for this show called Human Resources.
Oh, okay.
And it basically follows the world of the hormone monsters, the depression kitty, this whole world of these things that affect human beings in weird ways. I just think it's
kind
brilliant.
of odd though that it has to be, because I was thinking when you said animation could do this, they're doing things in this they couldn't do in a real show. I don't know why you couldn't do some of these in a real show, but even live action shows that do a very good job with adolescents, I tend to find they might have like a supernatural element to them. Like Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a very good show at getting into like, a lot of adolescent issues and a lot of high school issues, but it had to use monsters
to
do that. Like we can never just have like a straight forward, or it's melodramatic.
Here's why you can't. Because then you have to use actual adolescents.
Yeah.
And you cannot put those conversations into the mouth of adolescent actors in a way
because I saw Larry Clark's Kids, and you do not need to do that.
It's one of those things you just can't do.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't. And that's even before the adolescent nudity, comes into question. Anyhow, so it's time for Danae to go.
Go, Danae.
Oh, is it my turn? For real?
Yeah. God, what do you got, Danae?
Finally.
What do you got on D&D?
Okay, so this is a part of the episode where we talk about things we put our eyeballs on and we want to recommend. I recommend
you've removed it?
You can remove your eyeballs and then you just like squish them around.
Or not recommend.
No, I think that it would be a really wise decision for everyone to consider donating a few bucks to the Wikipedia. That's it.
Oh,
I do that every year, actually. I back that.
This, I know it seems a little bit cop-out-ish, but it's been on my list to talk about for Beyond the Sins since we started. They will constantly, when we use Wikipedia a lot in research, and they'll have like a, hey, if everybody can just give a few bucks, this free source can continue to stay free. So if you use Wikipedia, I would definitely recommend donating.
Wikipedia is great, and I think it gets a bad rep. For having inaccurate information,
but it's
just
sourced by people.
It's everything has inaccurate information.
Exactly.
My grandparents have an entire set of Encyclopedia Britannicas,
and there's inaccurate
information
yes,
in there.
Of course
that's been printed and forever is there. Like
because it's made by humans.
Yeah. So, but this is a resource,
and on Wikipedia it can be fixed.
Yeah, it can be fixed. You can give cite, and I don't know. So I talk about considering to spend $5 on games. So I thought maybe I would just recommend spending some on keeping a wonderful website.
Yeah,
going.
it's like if everybody gave like $2 to this,
it
would be.
It'd be like funded for years.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's invaluable resource.
Man, I just had nightmare flashbacks to raising money on the radio. And
well, that's true.
If everybody would just give,
we're not asking for us.
It's like
Wikipedia is not sponsoring this.
Well, I did think about it. Like, is this a weird one to talk about? Because it's not like, oh, this is a fun thing to watch or a fun thing to play. But it's something that
it's valuable.
Most everybody in this culture uses, and it is very valuable.
Yeah, that's great.
What do you got, Jonathan?
So I thought this is actually a book from a few years ago. It's from 2014. And I got it back then, but I still use it today. And it's a book called Pumpkin Cinema. It was written by this guy named Nathan Toll. I don't know him personally. I've talked to him on Twitter some. He's been on a bunch of podcasts I've listened to. Seems like a really cool dude. But what he decided to do, because he's a big horror movie fan, and he would get asked every year, like, what are some movies? Like a lot of casual horror movie viewers tend to start watching a lot of stuff in October. So if you're a horror movie, if you are someone who watches horror movies all year round, and you have friends that just kind of like to do it in October, they might ask you, "Hey, what are some horror movies you would recommend?" And I get this more and more now that I've been doing CinemaSins, and people kind of look at me as like the horror guy, I guess, which
you are.
Yeah, that's fine.
Embrace it, man. Embrace it.
I'm good with it. I'm
the animated guy. You're the horror guy. We've all got our thing.
But the one thing Nathan Toll decided, because he went to I think the way he tells the story, he went to a party, like a Halloween party. They were going to watch like 3 or 4 movies, and then he said they all voted on the first movie, and the first movie that ended up getting put on was Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes. It might have been the remake. It was one of them, which is it's not a bad movie, but it's very dark and it's disturbing and in not good ways. And he knew immediately, like, this is not going to go over well. And then his kind of idea, and I like this approach because this is how I feel, like, the beginning of fall to me is just fun. Like, there's just so much going on. The leaves are changing. The weather's changing, depending on where you live. And football's starting. And it's just, everybody just seems to be starting to get in a good mood because the holidays are coming up. So it's just a fun time. So, like, when I'm watching horror movies in October, I tend to go more with the fun stuff. Like, I'm probably not watching, like, Ari Aster or whatever, like Hereditary. I'm not watching Hereditary in October.
Right.
It's not happening. That's a Midsummer. I'm tired of all the blockbusters. I need to watch.
Or Saw 3.
Or Saw 3, yeah. But I mean, there are a lot of it's not just like kids stuff. I mean, he talks about like the Halloween films and the Friday the 13th films and all this stuff. But it's just a really cool book that just kind of, there are like hundreds of films in there for you to check out. And I just think for all these people that are casual viewers and they do like to watch stuff around this time and they don't really know where to go, this is just a book that will definitely help you out. And I know he's talked about doing an updated version. To the best of my knowledge, he has not done that yet. But this is from 2014. It's called Pumpkin Cinema.
Very nice.
And it's, like I said, it's written by Nathan Toll. You can definitely get it on Amazon. Libraries might have it. I'm not sure because I own it, so I haven't checked with my library. I'm sure it's on Kindles and, ebooks and all that fun stuff. But
is that
I look at it every year still and try to see, what have I not watched in a while?
Just get some ideas from it, that kind of thing. Yeah, totally. Is it a play on pumpkin cinnamon? Is that what?
I don't think so. I think he's pumpkin because of Halloween,
right?
And then it's horror cinema. So I think that. Also, I want to just really quick shout out before Danae wraps me up.
Hey, could you wrap it up, guys?
I find it really odd. The horror community, for the most part, is just one of the most embracing communities out there as far as film fans go. Some of the nicest people in the world. But I have discovered over the last couple of years, especially with social media, around this time, you get this one group, and it's probably not that many people, but you get this one group that'll tweet out this crap about like, oh, they're watching movies, just in October, and we watch movies 360 days.
Yeah, we're the real horror fans.
Seriously, Wendigo, fuck yourself. Why don't you just like talk to that person and actually give them some ideas of movies they could watch? And for all you casual horror moviegoers or just anyone that only likes to watch horror movies in October, enjoy the fuck out of the month and watch whatever you want. And
Thank you.
Have a good time.
This is a great way to finish it because it doesn't just go for horror movies. Humans have this thing where we want to say we were there first, and anybody who's we call people bandwagon fans, and
I saw Dave Matthews at a frat party,
right? And it's like prove our bona fides or whatever. when if you really love something, you should be thrilled that somebody else is finding enjoyment in it, no matter how they found their way in.
Absolutely.
So I totally agree.
I love all the anybody wants to come at me on Twitter or come at me, but like tweet at me, DM me asking like for some recommendations or just what I like to watch or just wants to have a conversation with me about something you watched. I'm down for it, man. I enjoy it. So much fun.
Very cool. Well, that's going to wrap it up for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure you are subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. You can hang out with us on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
That's DENEESAYS.
And he is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to behindthesinspod@gmail.com and be sure to subscribe or message us at Twitter. And be sure to visit CinemaSins.com.
When I put headphones on, I tend to go radio guy a little bit because I hear my voice and I want to sound cool.
But I'm already being attacked by the cats because the cats came back the very next day. Oh, I'm very allergic to cats. Ooh, Jonathan's stripping in the studio. I'm going to need to have Kleenexes. And it begins.
Oh, no.
The entire podcast is going to be me sneezing.
Well, we can. Man,
I'm glad
the entire outtakes are just going to be sneeze after sneeze after sneeze.
Jeez.
I'll just pile them all together as
like the bonus round.
Yeah, just a bonus round of sneezes.
And then the ding counter.
Yeah, play the Mario theme underneath.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Do we have Wi-Fi here?
Yes. Yeah, it's cinema.
I'm going to guess the password. I said poopy cats, so.
Give me go.
And it's right.
I'm not kidding. I'm really allergic to cats.
You just got to use the power of your mind to control your body. You believe in that, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like the mind is totally powerful, right?
I'm with you, yeah.
So you don't have cat allergies today?
No, this is just a fluke.
Can you believe it, though?
Yeah,
like, that's
I believe
the thing.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I'm
then
totally
you'll be good.
fine. This is just a strange beginning of my morning.
Yeah. You're just tired in the morning. This has nothing to do with cats. That doesn't even bother you.
No, and you know what I'm going to think about? Every time I sip this latte, it's giving me antihistamine powers.
Right. That's right.
This is
Absolutely.
an antihistamine latte.
Yes, it's a antihistamine.
It's
Oh, an antihistamine, please. Could I have a decaf vanilla antihistamine, please?
See, it's working already.
I know. It's great. I need to also tell my brain to work on the inflammation in my eyes right now, too, because I think... Are you going to be okay to talk to us, but with the microphone at your ear? You might want to...
Oh, no, I'll just adjust it like this.
And then just talk to the wall? That's what you usually do when we're on the show anyway, because you're in a totally different space.
Yeah, I don't make good eye contact according to my wife anyway, so this is probably just for the best.
What does that say about you psychologically?
You can ask my psychologist, I guess.
Ooh, okay. What's his number? Or her. Actually, when I first met my husband, he never made eye contact ever. He would just look at my chin or my lower lip. And I asked him one day, like, do you realize you never look at my face, like in my eyes? And he had no idea. And it just made him uncomfortable. Eye contact made him uncomfortable.
At least he wasn't just like looking at your chest.
He could have been.
I just heard you dinging.
All I want to do is ding-a-ding-ding.
Just shake your rump. Okay, so even though it's warm in here, I'm going to keep this scarf on because I'm going to call this my sneeze guard. And I'm just going to pull my scarf up.
But you're not going to sneeze anymore.
Oh, that's true. I haven't since my brain took over.
But see, I can still look at you. See? What's
yeah,
up?
We're good. What's up? What's up?
Swear
What's up?
I'm not,
what's up?
What's up?
That's the whole podcast today.
I'm not staring at your
what's up?
chest, I promise.
Okay.
We're all in the same we're all in the same
I
room.
am staring at Aaron's.
Right.
Well, there's less of it now.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's
I don't
the
have
great
boobs
shrinking
anymore.
No,
process.
you have I do. You have definitely lost some weight.
I've lost my boobs.
How many weights have you lost?
I have lost currently about 63 weights.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of weights.
There's a lot of weight. Yeah, the tweet started March of 2018. It's, interestingly enough, my very first, hey, I'm doing this, let's do it publicly tweet about getting healthy was 2 weeks before I died.
Oh, wow.
So it was like...
And you lost weight while you were
I definitely
down.
lost weight that weekend.
And I'm so glad that you came back from that
Yeah.
and have like all your facilities intact.
I think so.
It's been long enough now.
At least 99% of them.
Yeah. You know what? You have become more perverted since then. So I think
I think that's CinemaSins.
Life, that's my motto. Life is short, tell a penis joke.
Well, that's your next t-shirt. I don't want to know what my t-shirt would be.
My eyes are up here, Justin. Is that your t-shirt?
Really?
I just saw like a skull or something.
Yeah,
That could just be Halloween.
No, it's their symbol.
Oh, that's
it's their
cool.
logo.
It's a skull with a beard.
A skull with a beard.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's not something you see every day.
No, it's a bearded skull.
They should have more like in movies where you see like skeletons walking around like the Earth. They should have more beards.
Yeah, just more hair in general.
Yeah. Beards and like
body
bandanas.
hair,
like
little leg hair growing off the femur.
Biker skeletons.
Little chest hair, little puff of chest hair on the sternum.
Yeah, with a shirt that says "My eyes are up here."
Yes, something like that. All right,
do you
we
really
ready?
have a "My eyes are up here" shirt though?
No, I want one
Oh,
now.
that'd be awesome.
My eyes are up here, Justin. It has to say Justin.
Yeah, specifically.
But
you can go to Panama City and get one.
But I want the eyes to be where the chest is, and then the writing
words on the
my
belly
stomach.
button.
Yeah.
That's actually great. I wonder if anybody's ever made that shirt. That's really funny. You should make that shirt. That's hilarious. I mean, I don't know that you'd want to wear it.
So it would
It's
say
totally
like
up to
it would
you,
say it
but-
down here, like on your stomach.
Yeah,
my
like
eyes
on your
are
belly
up
button,
here, and then your eyes would
and
be
then
right
there'd be
there.
eyes on the breast. That's great.
That has to exist.
It's so good you would think it exists.
Yeah, let's
right?
find out if it does, and if not, you got to get a patent on that.
Well, I was going to say this is going to go public soon, so you probably want to get that.
All right. Well, then we need to talk about how if it's going to be a nighttime shirt and there's no bra involved, the eyes need to be even lower, and the words need to be around.
You can sell different versions.
So like a long shirt,
right?
Like
yeah.
my eyes are up here, but it's actually like mid waist.
Right. This shirt is for the moms of 3 children.
That's right. Yes.
Dear children of 1981, I have to apologize to you. My parents took me to Disney with a full-blown case of chicken pox because we were not going to miss our day at Disney.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, there's so many sick kids in that park.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, your alarm's going off.
Hey, guys, we're done with this one. On to the next one.
Right.
Were you just telling us to wrap it up today?
Yes, I was.
Wow, we got a signal from Danae. Like, I'm tired of this laugh track talk.
No.
Wow,
I'm trying
that
to
was
keep
amazing.
us on schedule.
I'm going with the timer. There's still 14 seconds left on this section.
Oh, I'm good. I have to pee so bad.